Hi everybody, how's it going today? Thanks for watching. My name's Pete, dairy farmer from North Dakota. It's Saturday afternoon here. Just wanted to show you guys this here before Lupe starts mixing a load for the afternoon feeding here for the high cows. We took delivery of a 728, I think was a Wednesday or Thursday. And yesterday afternoon we hooked it up to our feed wagon and mixed one load with it, and this morning was the first, or today is the first full load of, or full day of mix and feed. So we've got it hooked up to our 1700 Supreme. We'll maybe jump inside here quick and show you guys the inside. It's a little windy today, but traded in our 930 Fendt for this 728. We actually ran a 728 on our feed wagon 2 winters ago. For just, I don't know, it was a couple months maybe. So we kind of had an idea of how the tractor worked on our mixer, how it looked. I mean, it's pretty much identical to this one, other than this one's maybe a couple years newer, I suppose. This is a 2025 that was on the lot at another dealer, but our dealer was able to make a trade with that dealer for this one. It does have a front 3-point and PTO on it. Not sure if we'll use that. We could in theory put our Kloss mower on this tractor as well, but the main purpose of this tractor will be to run our feed wagon. We had decided to trade our 930. Had about 14 low, I think, yeah, maybe a little over, around 14,000 hours anyways. Don't remember exactly where it was, but was just starting to have some issues with the engine, injectors, DPF filter. Just had some trouble with it the last year or so, more than I would like. And this piece of equipment here, the tractor and the feed wagon together, they're pretty important. These are the last things I really want to be having trouble with all the time, because it's important cows get fed on time. And I don't like buying new equipment because of the price, but I really don't like messing around with having to unhook a tractor, put another one on it, the mechanic come out to look at it. Yeah, seems like either way you go, if you keep equipment and service it, or if you buy new, there's a cost associated with either one. So we decided to upgrade this tractor. Hopefully it'll run, I mean, it'll be under warranty for the next few years anyways, but hopefully it'll run for quite a while. And we're good for us, but we'll find out. The interesting thing, so this is a 728 in theory, about 20 horsepower less than our 930, but it does run on significantly less fuel than our 930 did, or at least when we ran that 930 2 winters ago, there was a pretty significant fuel difference. I think I'll start it up here and see what the average fuel consumption was here today. I think our 930, I think it was at 7. I'll have to look back at my notes, but I think it was 7.7 gallons per hour on average that tractor was consuming running this mixer. So we'll see. I'll take a look here and see where this one was at here today, but it'd be interesting to watch that going forward. Start it up here. We'll see where fuel consumption is at on this tractor here. So we're at 4.9 gallons per hour average. And we were at, I thought it was 7.7, so that's, 2.7 gallons per hour. And we run this tractor 8 hours a day, 365 days out of a year. So by the end of the year, that adds up quite a bit in fuel usage cost. So that will add up, yeah, over a year's time, and over the span of this tractor running on this mixer. Kind of help make the decision as well on making this change. So this tractor has a low RPM setup like our 942 does, so the engines run at a lower RPM to get that PTO at 1,000 RPMs, and it always runs in a lower RPM regardless of what you're doing, and it does add up in fuel savings at the end of the day. But I don't think I'll be putting a lot of hours myself on this tractor, but we'll see. Maybe we'll pull it off here to put on our mower or something at some point. We'll just have to see how it works out. We do have a 724 as well that can run this mixer, but that one's kind of right on the edge where it's got just enough power to do it, but it doesn't have any extra, which It's nice to have a little extra power, especially in the winter time if it's icy or you got packed snow on the ground, whatever it might be, to have a little more power there and a little more weight. So this is, even though they're both 700s, this is a bigger frame. This is the newer 700s series. But that's what it looks like. We've got our feeding computer in here. So Lupe is about to go. He's going in the payloader right now, actually. So he's waiting for me. So we'll jump out here, let him mix this load for the afternoon. I think Fendt green and Supreme red look really nice together. We need to clean our feed wagon here, get it all nice and shiny red. It kind of matches the rims of the tractor. It's also nice being able to provide our employees with some comfortable, easy to use, reliable equipment, because nothing is more frustrating than working with equipment that breaks down all the time. And at least for me, that's frustrating anyways. We're in our north barn here. These are all high production milking pens. We top dress all of our high production pens in the afternoon with one load spread across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, across 8 pens essentially. So they all get a few thousand pounds top dressed in the afternoon. Really, the main reason is because we can't fit 2 pens in one load. We have to come back in all these barns regardless of how we do it. So years ago we went to splitting the load 50-50 between the 2 pens, and then we come back in the afternoon and top dress them just so they have their daily amount of feed to get them to the next morning. But a few months ago I'd mentioned to you guys that we were doing a trial on feeding distillers. There's always articles about feeding distillers that it can depress milk fat, so you can have lower milk fat in the milk if you feed corn distillers. So I was curious to see if we had any of that on our farm, if our cows were not producing their full potential of butter fat based on using distillers in our ration, because we'd use distillers in every ration on the farm, from calves all the way up to production cows. And it kind of worked out, so we had the opportunity to feed some flax meal. We, in the end, didn't really amount to a good situation because we're not feeding it anymore. It just wasn't available readily enough, and the consistency of the flax meal wasn't good enough, or not to my liking. But it was we had 6 loads, so it was enough to help do this trial where we were able to feed a lower rate of distillers. We didn't go to 0 distillers. We went to and I'll get my notes here before I get into it too much, but we went to a little under a half rate of distillers, and then with the flax meal we were able to bring that in, and that helped us kind of do this trial. And I'll get more into that here once I come back. I need to go fix a molasses pump in the shop, but before I go home I'm going to grab my notes and kind of walk you guys through what we changed on the ration and the results we had, and maybe my thoughts about it, why we saw what we saw, or why I think we saw what we saw. But wanted to just quickly show you guys here the tractor unloading the feed. So these 2 pens here, these are second, third lactation cows, high production cows, and then first and second lactation cows, high production cows. These are A2 cows mixed with non-A2 cows, and these are 100% A2. That doesn't really have any effect on the trial that we did, or but that's how these cows are grouped here anyways. But we'll maybe get into the details here when I come back later. It's later in the afternoon here. Just wanted to go over this Distiller's trial that we did. So I've got my notebook with me here, and I guess I should maybe start by the reasoning why some farms might not feed distillers or feed a lower rate of distillers, or why distillers gets a bad rap. And it essentially comes down to the type of fat in distillers, or the fatty acid breakdown of the fat in distillers. It's high in I think it's linoleic acid, and if you feed too much of that, the theory is you can depress butterfat production by the cow, because the fat that you're feeding is, or the fatty acid you're feeding to the cow is unbalanced essentially. Too much vegetable fat is kind of what it comes down to. That's, you don't want too much vegetable fat in your ration, because that can depress your butterfat production by the cow. But I think it's all relative to how the rest of the ration is balanced and the other ingredients in the ration, and that probably played a role in our trial as well. We feed a high forage ration. 60+% of our ration is forage, so that probably plays into it as well. If you feed a lower forage ration, maybe that impact of that fat from distillers has a bigger impact on the butter fat of your cows. I'm not sure. I'm always pushing John for more, or John is our nutritionist. I'm always pushing him for more forage and more components, more butter fat and protein. So part of the reason why I wanted to do this trial was just to see, are we pushing the limit on distillers, or are we fine where we are? And I mean, the results show that we're not hurting our butter fat by feeding distillers, or at least the data that we got didn't show that anyways. And I'll maybe just go over this quickly here. So really, the biggest changes in the ration were, so our distiller's rate is 8 pounds per cow as fed, and we're feeding a modified distiller. So just for quick math, that's essentially half of that is dry matter pounds. So 4 pounds of dry matter, and we cut that down by more than half. So we were under 2 pounds of dry matter going to these two groups of cows here. And what made up that difference was canola meal, and then that flax meal that we had access to for a short amount of time. So essentially changes the fatty acid profile of the ration that's being fed to the cows. Less linoleic acid is pretty much the idea there, I guess. So the breakdown cost-wise of the ration was really very similar. I hadn't looked at that closely yet until this point, and we're really similar. I was expecting the low distiller's ration to be a little more expensive, but that didn't prove to be the case, which was a little surprising. So we fed this specific ration from just after we tested our cows in December. So it was like the third week. We test the third Tuesday of every month. We DHIA test. So somebody comes on our farm to individually test every cow on our farm for production, butterfat, protein, and milk quality. So right after that test in December, we changed the ration to where these two pens here that I'm standing by went to this low distiller's ration, and then we fed that to about the end of January. So we had that one test really to go off of. And looking at that, I mean, their production in butterfat and protein changed maybe just a touch from the December test to the January test and then to the February test. But it was similar in comparison to our other pens on the farm. So there wasn't anything there. I mean, there wasn't anything there at all, really. So production, there was about 1 pound of change, but depending on which pen that I'm looking at, it was either up or down. It wasn't even that it was 1 pound up for both of these pens or 1 pound down. It was one pen was a pound up, one pen was a pound down, so that there was nothing there. And butterfat and protein between all of our high production pens during that time frame was super consistent. 4.1 to 4.2 butterfat, 3.4 to 3.5 protein, and that really stayed consistent. And again, there was nothing there to say, yes, there's something here. There's either more more components, less components, more milk, less milk. It was insignificant really. And the only thing that I didn't look at was days in milk, and that's so difficult to. There's so many other variables at play here, so there would have had to have been a significant change really for me to say there's something here, because days in milk of these pens is changing on a weekly basis as cows are coming into these pens and out of these pens, and that, yeah, like I said, that changes almost every couple of weeks for some of these pens, as we're always moving cows in and out of here every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks in theory, but I mean still there's a lot of variation there from test to test, from month to month. And then the last thing that I looked at was, because we have the cow manager system in the cow's ears, we're able to see rumination, eating time, and I looked at that to see if there was any noticeable difference and what that looked like from these pens compared to our other high production pens. But again, there was, if anything, the low distillers pens were maybe came down just a touch in rumination time, but it was insignificant really. Not, it was, if I didn't write that down, but if I remember right, it was less than, like, because it goes by hour, so it was 9, we're at like 9.3, 9.4 hours of rumination, and they maybe came down 0.1 or 0.2 over that time frame, so not significant at all there. It's not like you could clearly see a dip and then come back up when we went back to the normal ration. So it's kind of interesting. Always, anytime I read articles, particularly on butterfat and protein, because that's that's what we're paid on. Anytime I read articles like that, I always send them over to our nutritionist, and then he's here every 2 weeks, and we talk about the article, what we're doing, what can we do to improve. I mean, we have that conversation, me and my dad, almost daily, what we can do to make the ration more efficient or have the cows producing more pounds of components, something we're always talking about. And anytime you see something that somebody else is doing that might be better than what you're doing, or look like it's better than what you're doing, then we have a conversation about what are they doing, how can we try to improve that. I think it just goes to show how important it is to get their ration right. I mean, feed quality is a huge part of it, and because we feed so much forage quality, I think probably if we can make improvements anywhere that would be significant, it's in forage quality. If we can get more digestible forage in front of the cows, they can more efficiently turn that into milk, and that's where we'll see the most gains. But Mother Nature doesn't always want to work with you, and even if Mother Nature works with you, you don't always get the results that you think you should, even if you think you did everything right. It's that part of it is always a learning curve as well, just figuring out how to improve your forages, different varieties, planting dates, fertilizer. It's that's a whole nother kind of ball game, I guess. But I'm glad we did this trial, because now I know, okay, we're not pushing distillers, and I really like feeding distillers because it's super close to the farm, and it's typically, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a cheap feed, but it's relatively fairly priced for what we're getting as far as energy and protein out of distillers. So I'd like to keep feeding distillers, and we definitely will. I mean, doing this trial kind of solidified that for me, that we don't have an issue here, and I'm sure that some of you watching are pushing your distillers more than what we are, even in our herd. But I don't think I really have anything else to add here, I guess. If anybody has any questions or comments, you know, I'd love to answer them. We don't have any feed plan trials here currently, but who knows what article I might read tonight or tomorrow. We'll try the next best thing. I'm always looking to improve, to get better, and the only way sometimes is by trying it yourself. You can read all the articles you want. You don't always know the full story, because they don't always share everything that they did to make an increase in production or an increase in components. So sometimes you just have to try it yourself. and then you see the results, then you know whether it works or not. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Yeah, questions, comments, post them down below, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video.